Good day. Good day. My name is John Navira. I'm a qualified banking practitioner and researcher. Previously, we were looking at Haiti and Liberia and saying, well, after 200 years of independence, why are these two countries still poor when America is miles ahead of them? We could equally also ask, why is it that in Africa soon after independence, there is a reversal of fortune? Our story really begins in Sumeria. According to the clay tablets discovered in some archaeological digs, is that some beings, superior beings, came to Earth from outer space, and they taught man everything that they know, to write, to read, astronomy, astrology, metalworks, agriculture, farming. They were all taught by these superior human beings, or a human being by the name of Ea, their scientist. Also, the clay tablets say that these beings also created man, so that man can do the work for them, so that man can be their slave, if you like a robot. But the only thing is, it's an AI, if you like, an artificial intelligence. But in order to create such a creature, the scientist ended up having to sleep with his own creation, and thereby he gave birth to an intelligent being. What is the point of this story, going back to Sumeria? The point of the story is that when God created the universe, he did not complete his creation. He took it to a certain extent and left the creation to evolve. Now, as human beings, being created in his image, have a responsibility to complete that creation, to perfect creation. Look at man himself. Man himself is the most helpless when he is born. When he is born, he needs his mommy to look after him, wipe his nose, clean his nappy, teach him to walk, encourage him, teach him everything that he knows or that he needs to operate in the world. So our parents, the mother, finishes God's creation or takes it to a certain extent. Thereafter, other teachers take over. He needs to learn to fend for himself. He needs to learn to do what he needs to do. So we could equally say that the African Americans in Liberia and the former slaves in Haiti were taken to a certain level, but they needed to transcend the level they had been taken to by themselves to understand and implement whatever it is that they had learned. I mean, they used to visit all these world capitals. They could see the institutions, they could see the wonderful work being done. But the problem was they could not replicate these things at home. I mean, if you look at Haiti, there are no institutions. There were no institutions. Even now, there's still no institutions. Even the institutions of democracy are sadly lacking. So, we are saying that even Mother Earth, you see the word Mother Earth also needs to be completed by man, the environment. We cannot allow our rivers to silt up. We cannot allow the earth to suffocate because we are cutting trees, because we are consuming the ozone layer. It is our responsibility as stewards and custodians, as the dominant creature on the earth, to complete the creation. In the same way, our civilizations are also a creation, but they are also not complete. And it is up to each and every one of us to complete that creation. We are the ones who can turn deserts into tropical gardens. We are the ones who can accomplish almost the impossible. I wanted to use the word miraculous. We are the ones who are capable of doing that. Let's look at three people. Arnold Schwarzenegger saw his body and he decided he wanted to create a new one, a more perfect body in his own estimation. And he did. And he was Mr. Universe, etc., etc. And then there was Michael Jackson, who did not like the look of his nose and other features. So he decided to change them. So he was complete in creation. And then we have the Elon Musks, who have a vision of populating other planets. And they're living that vision. They're trying to complete the creation that was left by God incomplete. All these other people, the eugenists, also tried to complete creation by breeding. We do this with farm animals. We try and create a better beef animal. We try and create a better rose. All this is part of completing creation which was left incomplete. It's our job, it's our duty, it's our responsibility. But now we are saying, why is it our brethren in Liberia, Haiti, and maybe in the rest of Africa have not made that great leap? What is going on? Is it something inside that trips them? My hypothesis has to do with the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. We've got the conscious mind, which is conscious like I am now. Then there's the unconscious mind, which is like a deep pool. I don't even know what is in that unconscious mind. But Carl Jung, the psychologist, wrote quite a lot about the unconscious mind. He also wrote quite a lot about the archetype, the images that are in that unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is what actually decides what happens to us. If we are sabotaging our success, we'll find that it is the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is not capable of reasoning. All it does is to receive these images. And once it receives them, it starts collating them. So we need to be very careful what we allow to go into our unconscious mind. Usually our conscious mind stands guard, but sometimes it happens that it opens. This is where you find you've got neurotics or people going a bit bonkers. So the unconscious mind is the key. Now let's look at Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. He said, give me a child 1 to 7 and I'll show you the man. St. Ignatius of Loyola said, give me a child 1 to 7 and I'll make him a Catholic for life. So they knew some secret knowledge that we do not know. They knew something that we did not know. They knew that image coupled with emotion has an impact on this body. What it also means is that this body or this human creature is really like a computer. It needs software, an operating system to operate. So it's garbage in, garbage out. So whatever good operating system goes in the form of images is what comes out in the material world. Therefore, what are we saying really? What we are saying is that knowing this knowledge, knowing this knowledge, we can understand we can deduce what must have happened to the slavers and to the to the colonized people. Let's start with the slavers. The slavers were subjected to horrific torture, beatings. Their women and children were snatched from them and raped. Remember, these were not animals. They were thinking human beings. They were human machines, if you like. Let me put it that way. Human machine with intelligence, with thinking capability, being loaded with these images of weakness, these images of incapacity being drilled into them. But you might say, okay, that happened 300 years ago or something like that. How can it be affecting them today? Well, it can be affecting them or us today because of this unconscious mind. Remember, the unconscious mind is part of the races. Your experiences are the ones that get you to tap into that. For instance, there is a butterfly called the monarch butterfly. The monarch butterfly, whatever it learns, it's a tiny little creature, whatever it learns, it passes on to its siblings. So if you look at that creature, it's a small creature, and yet we are the dominant creature. We have dominion over all these creatures. Surely the Creator would not have created us with a shortfall. It means that somewhere inside us there is this thing that we must also be passing on to our offspring. Let me give you an example. In some countries, you find that if your grandfather was in the military, then almost everyone will also end up in the military. You also find that if someone was a police officer, they also end up in the police officer. If he was a banker, an ancestor was a banker, everybody ends up in banking, administration, etc., etc. This must have something to do with something in our genes, which means that we come equipped to easily fit into that kind of lifestyle. We take to it like water. So it can't only be the monarch butterfly that has got this ability. We also have this ability that makes our learning easier. So therefore, what we are saying then is that something of what transpired makes former slavers and former colonized into goofy individuals. Goofy in the sense that you trip yourself up. You know what you want to do, but you end up doing the wrong thing. Let's look, let's take a closer look at this scenario. You go, you visit the capitals of the world, but you are not able to replicate what you saw. Or you are not able to transcend what you would have done. Let me give you an example. You find that someone comes into town, learns building trade, can build 5-bedroom houses, mansions, but the moment he goes to the village, it's apparent as if he is no longer able to put up a brick house. He goes and does what his ancestors used to do, that is, use mud and sticks, etc., to build his own dwelling. So what is really going on? My hypothesis is that it's this unconscious mind within us that has been damaged. Let's look at people who were colonized. people who were colonized had it reinforced in them that they can leave the village, but they cannot take the village out of them. Let's look at it this way. The colonialists lived in houses in the suburbs that were well lit, that had toilets inside and running water. Their houses never used to smell of feces. But in the compound or the township where the colonized lived, they had a house which was good, modern house, but the toilet was not indoors, it was outside, typically a distance 3, 4, 5 meters away. And instead of having a toilet that flushes, you had a toilet, you had a pit, not even a pit latrine, you had a bucket system which would be collected once a week or every 2 days or something like that. Now, can you imagine staying with that stench for so long? What is the message there? Let's look at communal laundry. You find that laundries were a communal affair. That is, there would be a huge slab outside with 1 or 2 taps, and all the women would come there and they would start washing, doing the laundry there, just as it used to happen by the riverside. And then for showers and bathing, you either went and bathed in the toilet or you went to communal showers. Such was the lot of the colonized. And after that, when you went to school, you found that they gave you books in infant school, that is, they gave you books that portrayed you as submissive, as inferior, as someone who is incapable of higher thoughts. Oh yes, we are capable of higher thoughts, but these images that are fed into us when we're at infant school, they are the ones that trip us up later on in life. They somehow work on us from the unconscious. Understand this unconscious thing, that it is really critical to understanding our humanity, understanding where we are going wrong and what we need to do to change for the better so that we can be proper beings. Okay, you might say to me, what about the Chinese? They were colonized, the Indians were colonized, the Asiatics were colonized, the Japanese were colonized. But what I'm trying to say to you is these different countries, their underlying cultures were not destroyed. Remember, the Japanese had their own writing. The Chinese had their own writing, which was in hieroglyphic forms. But in Africa, for some reason, we appear not to have writing. So this is where they got the advantage. We were what you might call tabula rasa. We were a blank slate, just dying to be written on. Whereas these others were so strong in their belief and cultural systems that they already had the right images inside them, whereas we had to borrow the images that were fed into us. If you get a chance, try and read King Leopold's letter to those who were going to the Belgium and the instruction that he gave them on how to subjugate the natives. So up to now, we still carry that burden, and we need to transform it so that we can stand upright on solid ground. If you liked this video, please subscribe. And if you've got any comments, please make your comments and ask any questions. Thank you very much for watching.